What would happen if the Three Gorges Dam collapsed? I have been covering the Three Gorges Dam ever since June 2020, and in that year the levels were incredibly high and many people said it was going to collapse. It didn't. It's still there, even though some people are still convinced it's not. If it did collapse, we would know about it. Trade around the world would actually collapse in one way or the other. Trade hasn't collapsed. We can go on. 400 million people may possibly lose their lives. That's 400 million. That's bigger than the population of the United States. That hasn't happened. But what if it did? If the levels were too high, the poor quality construction eventually gave way because there's 600 kilometers of water behind it. I don't know how many trillions of gallons or liters that is, but it is quite a lot. You could imagine that it would start off quite calmly, and you possibly wouldn't know, exactly as a tsunami would be. In the year 2020, some Chinese scientists actually made up this animation of what it would look like on a 3D animation. And many of you have seen this, so I'm not going to show you the full video, but for the people who haven't, well, here it is. First of all, let's have a look at the map. The Three Gorges Dam is on the Yangtze River, which is the third longest river in the world. You can see where the pin is. That is where the Three Gorges Dam is. And you've really got to concentrate on two cities. One is just southeast of it, called Yingchang, and the other one is Wuhan, which we all know for obviously where the coronavirus first started. So, if it did collapse, whether it was a missile, whether it was just heavy lightning, bad construction, earthquake, you name it, I could imagine it would start like this. And like a snowball effect, I think it would start really slowly and then escalate into something catastrophic like this. At first, I would say if you were 1 or 2 kilometers away and you had a pair of binoculars, you would possibly see an image coming up like this in a moment or two, and you would think, well, this is just a bit of stormy weather, everything is okay. But before you know it, it could get into this kind of frequency. These kind of waves are very deceptive. They look, you could say, actually quite wonderful, and they think, oh, it's not going to harm, but it would have the tsunami effect, and before you know it, it's going to be like this. Emergency services would be called, hopefully, and evacuations, and this is when the catastrophe and the chaotic get out of jail free card is going to happen. And I would even believe, according to some seismologists, some experts related to this, some tornadoes or hurricanes would spin up because of the velocity of the water. Now, do you remember the map? The first city it would hit, round about 100 kilometers an hour and about 20 meters high, would be Yingchang. And you could imagine if you were inside, hopefully the sirens have got off, you have no time to escape because this is going to happen really fast. Your building is going to be flooded. If you were on a ship or a vessel, a yacht, a boat, anything that floats, well, when it gets very close to Yingchang, could you imagine this 20-meter high wave? 20 meter, multiply that by 3, that's a 60-foot wave. At 100 kilometers an hour, it's going to wreck everything in its path. There would be earthquakes. And I could imagine the magnitude would be way into the 8s. Landslides would be common up and downstream of the Three Gorges Dam. It really would be like a disaster movie. And, quote, this would be affecting over 400 million people. What would the flow of water possibly look like? If we go back to the map again, this would hit Wuhan. Now, Wuhan is 11 meters above sea level, but it will be basically destroyed. Any evidence of the COVID-19 outbreak would disappear. The records of everything would go. And imagine the after effects. After Wuhan, I would say it would start to filter out, and by the time it got to Nanning and Shanghai, it would still be serious, but not as bad as Yingchang and also Wuhan. But the effects of it could be like a disaster movie. Now, please note, I don't expect this to happen within my lifetime, but like all buildings, they do deteriorate, and if they're not well maintained, they will basically be decommissioned or they will collapse one way or the other. The Three Gorges Dam was built in the 1990s. It was operational in the mid-2000s, etc. Look at the Hoover Dam. That's getting close to 90 years old. I suspect it's going to be decommissioned within the next 20 or 30 years. Dams have a short lifetime, and if they're not well maintained, and I can well imagine that the Three Gorges is not well maintained because the quality of it is just sort of like being lucky so far. Yeah, and 2020 was a serious year for it. But for the skeptics, it is still there. It will go down eventually, like most dams will collapse eventually, or again, I repeat, be decommissioned. Now, yesterday I did actually show you the weather, and I did show you some red images on a application called Vinsky, which is a weather forecast app. I looked today and those red glitches have gone, but there is quite a bit of heavy rain and thunder and lightning around central China. In fact, most of China. And if you just want to spend a minute having a look at the weather, this is the wet season, this is the rainy season, this is the flood season in China. And I could imagine in the next couple of days, you are going to see some reports about the wet weather. Now, if you do want to make sure this is correct wet weather, come to this channel here. Like all my subscribers, thank you very much. All my members, thank you very much. And all the people who support me on Patreon. If you do want so, hey, the link is in the description below. Let me show you the weather. That brings us to a close on Thursday, the 4th of May 2023. My name is James. This is the James N. Cooper Show. What I'm trying to do here is not to scare people into it, but I would never live under a dam. Over the knowledge, what I've learned in the last 3 years with this, you just don't know the future. You just don't know the quality. It may be very cheap housing and the dam may produce wonderful electricity, and it may help with floods. There is a $48 billion dam being built in California at the moment, very close to Los Angeles. Could this be another disaster in the making for the 22nd century? Whenever, we don't know. It's food for thought, but I just wouldn't live under a dam. No way. Thank you for your time. Have an excellent day. Bye-bye for now.